BBC News with Sue Montgomery. President Joe Biden and his wife Jill have gone to the town of Uvalde in Texas to try to comfort families who've lost children in the deadliest mass shooting in the United States for a decade. They attended Mass in a local church and visited memorials at the Robb Elementary School. Will Grant reports.
Do something, a group of protesters called out to Joe Biden as he was leaving a service at the Sacred Heart Church. We will, answered Mr. Biden. It was one of the few overtly political moments in a visit that has been primarily about healing and providing comfort to a community emotionally torn apart by last week's attack. As a father who has lost 2 children himself, Mr. Biden will no doubt have empathised with them and shared their grief. But he's also likely to have heard their deep anger over the police response.
Israeli police say 70,000 Jewish Israelis have taken part in a march through Jerusalem's Old City, many taunting Palestinians as they pass through the Muslim quarter. Some of those on the march chanted death to Arabs as Palestinians hurled projectiles from rooftops. Yolande Nell reports from Jerusalem.
For the huge crowd of young nationalist Israelis here, Jerusalem Day, marking Israel's capture of the eastern part of the city and its religious sites in the 1967 Middle East War, is always a time to celebrate. For Palestinians who want East Jerusalem as the capital of their hoped-for future state, it's a cause of anger and resentment. Adding to the feelings on both sides today was a decision by the Israeli authorities to allow the flag march to continue on its traditional route, entering the old city through the main gate to the Muslim quarter.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has made his first visit to the northeast of the country since the Russian invasion. After greeting frontline Ukrainian troops in the Kharkiv region, he said the army was facing an indescribably difficult situation. James Waterhouse has more details about the president's visit.
He's not often seen leaving Kyiv. Often it is dignitaries and world leaders visiting him here in the capital. Nevertheless, he donned a camouflage flak jacket and headed to the front line, we're told, in the Kharkiv region. He was shown burnt-out Russian military vehicles down a country road. He met with Ukrainian personnel there. He gave them gifts. We're not sure what the gifts were, but they looked like sort of small wooden containers for awards of some kind. He thanked them for their service. It was rare.
European Union ambassadors have once again failed to reach an agreement on proposals to ban Russian oil imports. It's been struggling for weeks to strike a deal. Hungary has been leading resistance to the measures. BBC News. The polls have closed in Colombia, where around 38 million voters have cast their ballots in the first round of presidential elections. The frontrunner is the former leftist rebel and ex-mayor of Bogotá, Gustavo Petro. If he wins, he'll be the first left-wing president in the history of Colombia. His closest rival among the other 4 candidates is Federico Gutiérrez of the centre-right. The results are expected in a few hours. Sudan's military government has lifted a state of emergency, which it imposed after seizing power in a coup 6 months ago, which sparked widespread protests. The country's ruling Security and Defence Council said the move was aimed at creating the right atmosphere for dialogue. Clashes between protesters and the police have killed nearly 100 people since October. A game seen as the most valuable in football has ended, with the English side Nottingham Forest winning a lucrative promotion to the Premier League. They won the Championship playoff final at Wembley. The Forest manager Steve Cooper has been widely praised for his achievement, as Simon Ponsford reports.
When Steve Cooper became the new boss of Nottingham Forest last September, the club had made their worst start to the season for a century and looked to be heading for relegation. The glory days of the late 70s and early 80s, when Forest twice won the European Cup, seemed long gone. But Cooper quickly masterminded a remarkable turnaround. His team shot up the table, and after today's gritty 1-0 playoff victory over Huddersfield, they've earned a lucrative place in the English Premier League, where Nottingham Forest will be rubbing shoulders next season with the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City.
In cricket, Gujarat Titans have won their maiden Indian Premier League title, defeating Rajasthan Royals in the final in Ahmedabad. They won by 7 wickets in a match watched by more than 100,000 people. BBC News.